Hey Brian, I've got another round of feedback for you since we don't have a lot of time. I think it's easier if I go over each game individually, but kind of just want you to think about these like five themes or five categories throughout the review, right? So some issues I'm still having with your level one. The second bullet I think is really important, honestly. I'm getting the impression that you're not checking the enemy jungler CS when they show the first time, right, or during their first clear or whatever. It's like really important. For jungle, honestly, the early game, it really is a lot of it is like a memorization game. You need to know the path of the enemy jungler so that you know which of their camps are respawning first, and you need to know obviously your path and which camps you did first. That way you can try and min-max which camps you should defend, which camps you can take from the enemy, what your path should be the second go around, right? Third bucket is just on comms. This is honestly an issue for everyone, but I think you're doing a pretty good job. There's always more that you can add and say in comm. It's related to the second bullet, but there's a couple instances where you're not correctly tracking the enemy jungler, so it's leading to a little bit of misinformation. So I just want to clean that up a little bit. Fourth one's on just being too reactive. We'll go over this, but there were a few opportunities where you could be more proactive, right? And in punishing, the enemy mid laner or the enemy bot laner who don't have flash. There's some opportunities there, and even if you don't get a kill, there's still an opportunity for you to pressure and relieve or alleviate pressure from our own laners. And then just have a couple pointers on some micro that you could improve on. Obviously, I think, when it comes to tracking the enemy jungler, right, your pathing and all that, yeah, those are all macro concepts, right? But when it comes to the actual fight, that's all micro, and that's still very, very important, right? How you play the fight, how you're using your abilities, right? Because the champs you're playing, Skarner, Volibear, since you have agency to engage, or you have the CC abilities, it's very important that you're utilizing them as best as you can. Okay. All right, so let's dig into game one. I want to start off by saying I think you did a great job last night. There's still, lots of room for improvement, obviously, right? But I think you did a good job, right? You're a very level-headed player. That's what this team needs. Don't take any of this feedback like to heart or anything like that. I'm just pointing out some things that I think you could improve on. That's really good. Okay. Let's start with level one. So nothing really happens to you level one this game, right? But you get punished the second game, and I feel like you really like walking and contesting this bush. And likewise, Danny should be contesting this bush. I have some feedback for him there. But you're right, this bush is important. It just depends on like how strong we are level one. Because like if the enemy team is just cheesing here, then and they're stronger than us level one, right? Especially like our mid jungle on top, right? Because that's this half of the map, right? Like if they're strong at level one, then you might just lose your slash for no reason, right? So I'd say generally I would recommend just coming out of base and just standing here. That's the idea of the 5 point, is that you're just scouting to see if they invade or they do anything suspicious. You don't need to do anything too crazy, okay? If you do want this bush, it's probably better for you to come at this angle because you want to kind of scope this out a little bit before you just randomly check, okay? This game in particular, I would say you can stand in this bush because their level one is not that scary, right? But there's other games, right, like game two, where you actually got punished for even trying to be in this bush. Okay. My next comment obviously depends on what side you're starting. I want you to linger around here as long as you can, obviously without being late to your bluff. So if you're starting blue buff, for example, around 110, 111 is when you should start to walk to your blue buff. And then if you're starting red buff like this game, then you can even linger longer. You can linger to like 120, and then you can go to your red buff. I just want you to linger longer because number one, people could late invade you. And then number two, if you linger a bit longer, a lot of times the mid laner will come and try and get this raptor ward off, just like we're trying to do. And by lingering, sometimes you deter them from getting this ward off. Even if you can't stop this ward, you'll have knowledge that your raptors are warded now. Okay, that's my comment for level 1. So you get invaded here. I like this ward. This is good. It sees when their bot lane enters. You win the smite fight. This is great. And honestly, you played this fight well. You landed everything. You landed your E, you landed your Q. It's just a little bit unlucky. We were just short a little bit of damage. But anyways, when you get invaded like this, obviously when you're playing the fight, you can't really check the CS count or whatever. But when you get a chance, basically the next opportunity you get, you should check the enemy Vi's CS count. And when she has 16 CS here, what does that mean? She has 16 CS and she has a blue buff, right? So what is her path? She took all 3 top camps, and then she has to have taken Raptors before invading you. That has to be the path because you got the Gromp. Okay, so we need to remember that for the second clear because it is important. Okay, and the Vi's conditions were really bad. She was like 1 HP, right? So you staying for this blue buff, I understand. I get it. What happens is a little bit unlucky. Vi is actually pretty smart. She like hits the crab a couple times to regen HP. Because like when she exited the fight, when we lost vision at first, she was like literally like 1 bar, 1 HP, right? But this is smart by her where she's just hitting the crab for HP. And then she comes and re-invades you because now she has smite advantage because you smited the Gromp. This has been unfortunate. Right, you lose this blue buff. It is what it is. I don't disagree with your decision to hit blue necessarily, right? Because of ice conditions. There's a couple things I want you to think about. So you eat this blue buff, which I understand, right? Because you thought the Vi was too low that she couldn't contest you, so I understand that. I'm totally okay with this. It makes sense to me. Let's say, yeah, in a different world where your HP conditions are reversed, right? Where you have 1 bar and then the Vi has like half HP or something like that, right? Then you wouldn't even come to your blue buff. This is a waste of time. You immediately recall and then you open up on the top half of the map. Okay. And I guess like let's play that scenario out in our heads a little bit further. It's 322. So like let's say you immediately start scaling your recall now. Right? You open out a base, then you should get this top crab. But your Krugs haven't respawned yet. So you have a lot of downtime basically, right? So you literally are homeless for a little bit. You are forced to just gank mid or top and apply pressure that way. Okay. Those are your only options. Because it's not like her Grump is up as well. Okay. But that's reality of the situation. Okay, so the Vitex are blue. You base, you buy Ruby Crystal, and then Rejuve Bead. I think this item is kind of whatever. I want you to get in the practice of just buying 1 pink every base, especially on these like tank supportive junglers. It's like even more important. But yeah, the pinks are like super useful when it comes to doing the first grubs, the first drag, having that extra bit of vision to make sure you're safe. Especially in comp, it's really nice for our laners. It gives us intel. Okay. Yeah, like I don't give a fuck about this Rejuve beat. I'd rather you have a pink.
You should be opening top again.
My other feedback for you here is like your calm here, she should be opening top again. If you guys both full cleared, that's usually true. I completely agree with you, right? It's just this game is a little bit different. Like your calm here, it could be true, but it's not 100%. And if you guys normally did a full clear, I'd say that calm is leaning more towards being 100% true. This game is a little bit weird. So I feel like when you calm that, it's just based on your experience. Like that is why I'm giving you the feedback of like you're not checking the Vi CS count. Because from the Vi's perspective, right, what camps of hers are up? Her red buff and her Krugs are still up. So yes, there's a chance she bases and opens top to contest your crab, but we're not super confident about that. She could do what she did this game, right? Yeah, obviously she could dive mid in this scenario, but she could have just gone back to her red buff and her Krugs, right? So I'd say, yeah, just be a little bit more careful when you're calming the enemy jungler position, right? It's okay to not know for sure where the enemy jungler is. It's totally okay to say like, hey, I'm not sure where Vi is, and then you wait for more information. Okay, so Vi just dove mid. She fogged back bot side. We checked tab again. She still hasn't bought yet. She still doesn't have red buff. These are pretty important things to track. So yeah, this crab is 100% yours. So my feedback here is you should go for more. You should take her Gromp as well. You're up tempo. Obviously she got a kill, but you're up tempo. She used her timer, her tempo to kill mid, and she still hasn't based yet, right? So she still needs to get her base off. Like, to be honest, you should go for her Gromp before the crab, because even if she bases now, if you went for the Gromp first, there's no way she can make it back in time before you take the Gromp. And then you can take the Scuttle Crab second on your way out. Does that make sense? Now on top of that, right, she might just accept that she's giving Gromp and she's just gonna go and finally do her red buff for the first time. Okay? So this Gromp is 100% yours. Okay? No need to be scared here. You can even use your pink that you would have had. You could even drop a deep pink here if you wanted to. The point I'm trying to make is you have a lot of time to work with. When the Vi kills Henry mid, obviously it's not a good situation, but what that gives you is that it gives you a lot of time to play on this side. So whether that's taking her Gromp and taking crab, whether that's ganking top and applying pressure there, and I would not recommend ganking top over taking Gromp because I don't think this kill is free. I'd rather just take resources, okay? But the point is you have a lot of freedom. So anyways, you go to your Krugs, that's fine. This gives you level 4. That's great. And here, Danny comes out of base. He has a timer to make a play or do whatever. He's calming, he's pinging that he is going to look for a play mid. Okay, so my feedback here is instead of hitting these raptors, you should also try and look for that same play mid. Does that make sense? Yeah, this is the idea that you want to be on the same timer as your support. Okay? It's a bit unlucky that we didn't get this kill. Obviously, if you were here, we would 100% get this kill. But the concept here is that you should be on the same timer as your support. When our support is down to make a play, you should be down to make a play. Okay? I forgot to add this in the initial list. So yeah, this is an important one. Okay? Because there's another few instances where you don't do this as well. Okay? So the reality of the situation is you take your raptors. And I guess where would the vibe be? She is probably on one of these two camps. Unclear which one. Okay, so I want you to remember, right? Like as you're clearing these Krugs, just think about the next camps that are respawning. This is where the memory game comes into play. Your next camp that's spawning is Wolves. What is Vi's next camp that's respawning? it's her Raptors. This all stems back from like you checking the CS count when the Vi shows for the first time. Because she had 16 CS, that means she did Blue, Grump, Wolves, Raptors, and then invaded you. So her third camp should roughly be respawning at the same time as your third minor camp. Yeah, so I'd say like after the shenanigans mid lane, there's like a very, very strong chance that her Raptors are up, or she's making her way down like right now to try and defend them. Yeah, this is all like related to jungle tracking. I want you to come and contest these Raptors, and these should be yours because Aurora is not a champ right now, and then we can leverage our support being here to help you take away the Raptor camp. Okay, does that make sense? Do you see that timing? Okay, and I'd say like if she never contests the Raptor camp, what does that mean? It means she's 100% on top side, and she's probably going to be playing for the grubs. All right, and if she does come and contest the Raptors, well, then we know where she is. You should already have an idea that the Vi is probably somewhere here, but there's a chance she contests the Raptors. So actually checking the Raptor will confirm where her positioning is. Okay, here, so you do Dragon. We get a notification that she did grubs. Okay, and I guess as you're hitting this dragon, because this is pretty autopilot stuff, you don't need to micromanage this too hard. As you're hitting this dragon, you should be thinking about what you're going to do after this dragon. So what are your options after taking this drag? You could stay on this half of the map. You could pressure mid, you could pressure bot, or you could base and try and defend your top camps. So what's the issue here? I guess there's a lot of things to think about actually. So this also stems back to, jungle tracking, the path both junglers took to take starting from level 1, right? So you guys both started topside, which obviously means both of your topside buffs are respawning first. Which means that after the grubs, the Vi is like very, 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 very likely, right? Very incentivized to stay on the top side of the map. Because even if she doesn't invade you and take your camps, her topside camps are respawning as well. Does that make sense? There's other worlds where you guys, starting from level 1, your paths are opposite. So when your first buff is respawning, her first buff respawning is actually on the opposite side. And that changes your decision. Because now that gives you the option to potentially take her camps. But in this game, when you guys both start on the same side, you don't have that option to take that respawning buff. Does that make sense? So I want you to think about that, okay? And then the second thing is just like your tempo, your timer here, right? So you're hitting the drag, but the buffs are about to respawn already. The Vi knows that you're on the opposite of the map, and she knows you didn't take the drag yet because she didn't get the notification. She already finished the grubs, so she has nothing to do right now. So by the time you finish this drag, you're already going to be too late to defend your red buff. Does that make sense? So what should you do instead after taking this drag? If you're too late to defend your camps, then you should just stay on this side and apply pressure. Obviously, she doesn't have a buff here, but you can still take her minor camps. In worst case, you can still apply pressure. So you can take her Raptors, maybe her Krugs. We can even apply pressure. First of all, I want you to calm the Vi's top side. I'm assuming you're pretty close to 6 here, right? You could be like, hey Henry, I'm one camp from 6. I'm going to take Raptors, and then I can help you mid. The point is you need to stay on this half of the map and apply pressure or take camps or make plays or whatever. And in this game specifically, look at bot conditions. We're hard winning bot. You can definitely dive these two. 3v2, we can definitely dive these two. The only thing you need to be scared about is if the Vi resetted to cover this dive. So that's the only thing I want you to be thinking about in the back of your mind. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't go for this play. By going for this play, by putting pressure here and making this play, you are either, number one, you're forcing Vi to base to cover her bot lane, and in turn, right, that protects your topside camps. That removes any topside pressure that the Vi could exert. Or, right, if the Vi is taking your topside camps, it punishes the Vi for taking your topside camps because her bot lane can't play the game and they're gonna die in this scenario. Does that make sense? So let's look at the reality of the situation. The mistake you made is you based. Henry died to Vi, which sucks. That motivates you to take this wave, which is correct. But if Henry was alive, then you'd probably have gone to your topside camps and realized that they're all gone. Okay, so anyways, you take this mid wave, you level 6, you kill the Sivir, that's awesome. This kill on Sivir should have happened when you got the first drag, right? This should have happened a minute and a half ago. Does that make sense? That's the issue, right? And now Vi is in position to actually cover, versus if she wanted to cover your dive or your pressure bot lane from a minute and a half earlier, she would have had to give up some topside camps. Do you see the difference here? Yep, so you die here, it's okay. You respawn. Okay, so here is where I want you to be proactive in these scenarios, right? I guess that dragon scenario I'm talking about, that's an example of where you could be proactive. You could be like, hey, Vi's topside, can we dive bot? Or can I take Raptors? Can I take her Raptors for level 6? That kind of thing. This is another opportunity for you to be proactive. We should know that the Aurora has no flash. You are on the same timer as our support. You guys are both coming out of the base at the same time, okay? So we should use this timer to make a play on this Aurora together, the three of us. This is not going to be a 3v1 situation. We should probably expect this to be a 3v3 scenario, but we should be incentivized to gank this because the Aurora has no flash and we need to alleviate pressure for Henry so he can farm. Okay? When you go for this play, some things I want you to add to your comms. Who has no flash? We know Aurora has no flash. Who has no R? We should know that Vi has no R. Do we have Rs? Things like that. Things you can calm and think about. Okay? But what you end up doing is you hit your camps and then we miss the opportunity to help mid here. Okay, and now you look and you try and help mid, but now it's too late because Henry's HP conditions are a lot worse than it was before. And now our Nautilus doesn't have as good of a timer. Okay, my last comment is just some micro things. You used your E on the crab, so you don't have E, but we're looking to catch out the Lulu. Yeah, and she gets away by a sliver, right? So what you should do is when the Nautilus shoots the hook and he lands the auto, here you need to commit your ult already, right? Because you don't have E, you don't have any follow-up CC, you need to commit your ult here. Don't be greedy, you know what I mean? We need to kill this Lulu so that, yeah, we can extend the game. We need more time so Henry can catch up. Okay, basically, right? So don't be afraid to use your ulti for support. This Lulu kill is very important because if you get this Lulu kill, then the enemy team can't Drake, and that buys us time, which is what we need. Okay, but instead we're just over chasing. This just ends up being like a really it's just bad. Okay, that's all I want to go over for this game because the game starts devolving quite hard. I want this review to be more focused on like what you could do better. Right? I'm gonna make a separate video on some of the macro concepts that we need to get better on as a team. Okay, so this is game 2. Yeah, this game you actually did get punished for the level 1. I'm more happy about how you're coming in from this angle versus game 1 you're coming in to this bush from this angle because yeah, it scopes out this vision. Henry can already scope out mid for you, so this is better. The point is we gotta think about the level 1s a little bit more. I'm not saying that level 1 is crazy strong, but if you isolate it down to like just people in the area, the mid jungle versus our mid jungle, their mid jungle is way stronger. There's always Ignite, Electrocute, can even start Bubble like she did this game, versus our Syndra is fucking useless level 1, you know what I mean? So you just can't fish check this push, okay? You just need to stand here and scout. That's pretty much it. We had a comm here. This is also my bad. I forgot. So First Blood, just for your awareness, right? First Blood no longer gives 400 gold. It's only 300 gold. So the Shinzao can never buy a longsword here. So this is our bad. It's not like he's clearing faster than you. Okay, so just keep that in mind next time. Okay, so I'll pause here. So, you're hitting your third camp. We saw Zoe fog bot side, which means she's probably warding bot side. As you're hitting this camp, I want you to think about potentially ganking mid. There's a few things I want you to think about when you're debating whether to go for this gank or not. This situation is different from game 1 because Syndra actually has some tools to assist you if you do choose to go for this gank versus Yone level 2, not that many tools to assist you with. That's the first thing. The second thing is if you do decide to go for this gank, it's probably not a 2v1. There's a good chance it could be 2v2 because the Shinzao could just cover this Zoe. That's the second point. Third point is, just like a sum check. So Zoe still has flash, but what's kind of nice is she used Ignite on you level 1. That's a big deal. But based on all those factors, I still think you should swing mid one time. Just chunk the Zoe. Don't over chase the Zoe because the Shinzao might be here to cover. Especially even here, you should be even more incentivized because now Zoe has no bubble. Does that make sense? If you did decide to go for this gank, what can you calm here? Something like I'm looking mid. You can ask Henry, hey, when's your stun coming back up? You could even calm, hey, this might be 2v2. That way Henry is alert and he's not over chasing. Okay, here you get invaded again. This Shinzao is cringe, but your clear is so fast that it's chill. You smite your blue buff off and you fight him, which is fine. I would say micro-wise, you're playing this fight pretty well. There's a couple comments here. I don't have your POV obviously, and I don't know what exactly you're looking at. I know you're obviously focused on the fight, but when you're doing these camps, just keep in mind, just look at the minimap and think about whether your laners could actually help you or not. And in this position, Henry can never help you because he's getting pushed in. Our bot lane, it's pretty neutral, so they could probably come and help you. So just think about that when you're hitting your camps, okay? So Shinzao comes. In an isolated 1v1, you win, like you said. Okay, now we see Nami moving. You pop your potion, that's great. You land all your spells, that's awesome. And yeah, I know Nami is first, but you need to look at our minimap and realize that our bot lane is collapsing faster than this smolder. The feedback I have for you is you need to keep going here. Don't be scared because our bot lane is collapsing faster. Like this Shinzao is trolling, you know what I mean? In an extended fight, we want this fight to lean this way because the Zoe has push. We don't want the fight to end up going mid because the Zoe can help first. We want the fight to extend on the bot side of the map because that's where we have an advantage. Okay. So yeah, don't back off here, right? Keep going and push them into our bot lane. Okay. Our bot lane has the inner track here. Now that you're playing well, your spells are on cooldown, you're waiting for a bot lane to come. That's fine. Shinza realizes he's trolling, he flashes. Okay, now their millionaires here, now their smolder's coming. Henry's coming as well. He's a little bit slower. That's fine. Okay, we're waiting, we're waiting. She misses the bubble. That's awesome. Okay, so here, obviously we know the Shinzao's conditions are fucked. My minor feedback for you is like, I'm very happy you're waiting, but I want you to just walk towards this blast plant because this blast cone gives you more options. Option number one, you could take this blast cone and just kill the Shinzao, but that's going to take some time. Option two is you could take the blast cone here. But in reality, what you did is, yeah, so like you're waiting, but you end up using your flash. This blast cone would basically allow you to maybe not use your flash, or maybe use flash for something more advantageous. Does that make sense? Like maybe you might still have flash for this upcoming chase. It doesn't really matter, but that's the idea. That's my only like kind of like micro feedback for you. Okay? Otherwise, you played this well. You played very patient. That's good. And when the fight's over, I want you to press tab. Once again, same feedback. I want you to check the Shinja's CS count. He did the exact same thing he did game one. So what does that mean? 16 CS. He had blue buff when he invaded you. So he took top quadrant, he took raptors, and then he invaded you. Okay? So his red, his Krugs are still up, but he's coming from base this time because he died. Anyways, you take your Gromp, you take your Crab, and then you base. That's fine. And then you open topside here. So, okay, feedback I have for you is, so you're already late on your Krugs, technically. I'm not saying you're late as in the Shinzao is going to take your Krugs, but you're late in terms of, you know, when you're hitting the Krugs, your Raptors are going to respawn as you're hitting your Krugs. So I want you to adjust your pathing and go to your Raptors. I'm not saying the Shinzao can take your Raptors, but this places you in a much better spot because it lets you cover our mid laner who has no flash and he's pushing. It lets you contest top Crab. Okay, but now you lay on this play and you lose Crab when you're in a much stronger spot. This Crab should have been yours because, right, we have mid push. You're way stronger than the Shinzao. That's the adjustment I need you to make. So when we see the Shinzao here, it's still worth checking his CS here. 24 CS, and the fact that he came from bot side, what does that mean? It means all his top camps are up. Think about Shinzao's first clear. His Raptors are about to respawn. So, you know, after your Raptor camp, we saw the Shinzao fog topside. This is an opportune moment for you to go straight to his Raptors. Right? And you have a couple ways to do that. You can swing mid and gank and go to his Raptors, or you can just go directly to his Raptors. The point is you should be looking to contest this Raptor camp because you're up tempo. I think you realize you're up tempo and you're using your tempo to gank bot, but I think this is just a little bit too rushed because ganking from this angle is not super consistent when you don't have flash, especially when our support's dead and the Zeri can't offer like any real CC. So ganking from this angle isn't optimal. And like if you look at mid, it's probably more likely you get something out of mid than bot because our support is dead. You could use your tempo to gank like you did in the scenario. I just think you chose the wrong lane, or you can use your tempo to take his Raptor camp, and then that's actually really nice, right? Because it puts you in a better spot to gank, right? You can come behind the Zoe, you can come from behind their bot lane. Does that make sense? When you do go for this gank, I want you to ask or calm, right? If you already know, right? Does this Smolar have flash, right? Maybe you already know, and you should say, hey, Smolar has no flash, okay? But this gank is just not very easy to accomplish, okay? Okay, but anyways, in this picture, we know Shin is on his topside camps. We knew the Shinzao was topside like here. You know, he still has all these three camps to do. Okay, so when Euphonia gets ganked here, yeah, we need to be a little bit more clear about the jungle tracking. This gank should never happen. This Shinzao should not be able to get this gank. So Alex should have never died here. But Brian, that's something that you can calm because you know the Shinzao is topside. Okay? So you guys trade objectives. He finishes the grubs now, right? This is pretty much once again the same scenario as game one. So he finishes grubs first before you finish drag. If you finish drag at the exact same time, then you could probably base and defend your camps in time. But because you're slow, you're never going to make your top camps in time. And once again, remember the first clear path. Both topside buffs are going to be respawning at the same time. So the Shinzao should be super motivated to stay on the top side of the map. You're already too late to defend your red buff. So after this drag, what should you do? You should stay, right? You should stay on this half of the map, right? You can apply pressure mid, apply pressure bot. You can take his camps. That's what you should be playing for. That should be your mentality after this drag. All right, and once again, like we're not calming that Shinzao's topside. We're not actively thinking about this. And then Alex dies again. It's clear that you don't think he's topside, right? Because you were going to path your topside, and then when we saw the Shinzao getting top, that's when you decided to go for this Raptor camp. But you could have gotten this Raptor camp right after drag already. Does that make sense? So you finally get his Raptor's camp. Alex is doing a good job in the sense that he's buying a lot of time. Buying time is almost always a good thing. You take his Raptors, and you're playing too scared here. The Shinzao was just top side. You can go for more. Take his Krugs. You can keep applying pressure mid and bot. Okay, there's no reason to be scared here. There's no way the Shinzao is going to make it in time. I think you're a little bit too hung up on like the one timer, one thing here. You think like you use your one timer to get one camp, but the situation here is like your timer is extended because we have info on where the Shinzao is. The one timer, one thing is really like when we're unclear where their jungler is, there's a chance that they could show up and contest. Okay, but here we have perfect information on where they are. Okay, so you have more than enough time. You should play more aggressive. You should get more out of this play. Okay. Yeah, and then here you cross back mid to try and go to your Raptors camp, but this just doesn't make sense. Like the Shinzao like took your red already, so just do your bot side camps. Okay, I'm gonna stop your review here, and then I'm gonna make, like I said, a separate video for some of the mid late game macro things. Okay.